right, welcome to episode 10 of Trojan Poetry.
We did it.
Episode 10.
We made it. Episode
Yep.
10.
People said it wouldn't happen, but we've kept going.
Here we are. It just don't stop. Here we go. We keep going.
All right, so for episode 10, I've chosen the poem. Mike has not read the poem, and here it is. It is by Charles Simic. It's called In a Dark House from 2013. One night, as I was dropping off to sleep, I saw a strip of light under a door I had never noticed was there before, and both feared and wanted to go over and knock on it softly. In a dark house where a strip of light under a door I didn't know existed appeared and disappeared, as if they had turned off the light and lay awake, like me, waiting for what comes next.
You've outdone yourself, John, with this one.
I love Charles Simic, so I wanted to do a Charles Simic poem. And I have brought a visual aid. We have the complete new and selected poem by Charles Simic through 1962 to 2012. And this is the last poem in the book. So this is a new poem from 2012. Sorry, I got the year wrong there. 2012, the last poem in the book. And I instantly was like, whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I wanted to think about it more and talk about it. I've read a lot of Charles Simic, and I love the way he even said this in an interview, he wants his poems to be like a scorpion, where it is pretty smooth and everything, and then it just comes with like a hook at the end and just stings you. And you're like, oh, it seems like you get it, and then there's just this, all of a sudden, just a sting at the end.
Yeah.
And I felt that way where it's like the language is so simple, and the situation is seemingly so simple, but there's just a whole other layer of surreal puzzlement to work through or to untangle. And so I guess I'm curious what you think, and then maybe I can say what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that might be
sure.
interesting.
You know, when you read it, I read that second line. It says, I saw a strip of light under a door I had never noticed was there before, and I thought he was referring to the strip of light.
Right.
And then it said, I wanted to knock on it softly, and I was like, ooh, that's a cool image, knocking on a strip of light. But then I realized he's knocking on the door. And then the other thing that stood out to me is, as if they had turned off the light and lay awake like me, waiting for what comes next. And he just throws that in there. They had turned off the light. Who is that? And what is behind the door? Who's in control here? Like you said, that to me was the hook. I really like that image of the scorpion, because all of a sudden there's other people in the house that are unnamed, and it's like, what's going on, Charles? Are you okay?
Right.
I feel worried for him.
Right.
I don't know. What was your take?
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, you're falling asleep. Everybody goes, you lay in bed and you fall asleep, and then instantly, oh, wait, there's a door over there I've never noticed, and there's a light underneath it. Like, what an instantly bizarre, troubling situation. But then, line 4, he says, I feared and wanted to go over to the door. So there's something about the door that is attractive or appealing to him, right? But he's also scared of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I get that. But then the second stanza is such a strange construction.
Yeah.
In a dark house, where a strip of light, and then, because it's repeating, and you're like, okay, you already told us this. Why are you repeating it? But then it brings in the other person, and he imagines the person behind the door having turned on the light, but now they've turned off the light, and now they're waiting too. And I've read this poem now, like a dozen times, trying to think through it and figure it out. And I think what I've realized, because I couldn't get over the construction at the end, is you're waiting for the verb in that second stanza. It starts out like it's like an introductory phrase or an introductory clause, but it never gets to the verb.
Yeah, and because he's like setting up the situation. Yeah.
Right, and the whole poem, the way I've come to read it, is that, okay, he's in a dark place, symbolically, right, dark place. He sees a bit of light, like hope. It goes out. He's afraid to approach the hope, or maybe approach somebody else, and then nothing happens. Like, they're two passive people not going to the door and
not
on
either side of the door.
Right. And so there's no verb in the second half.
Yeah.
Well, there's a verb, but the verb you're expecting doesn't come.
The strip of light appears and disappears, but he doesn't take any action, right? He's waiting. Like me waiting for what comes next. It's almost like multiverse or something. It's like there's a person on the other side of the door in a parallel reality
Right.
doing the same thing he's
Right.
doing.
And why
they
won't
don't
he
connect.
go? Why won't he go knock on the door?
Yeah.
Like what is the fear of knocking on the door that provides light?
Well, because it's unknown. It said
Right.
a door I never noticed was there before, right? And so that freaks him out. And should I approach it?
Right. So it becomes this, like, even though it's so simple, it becomes this meditation on, do you approach the light when you're in a dark place, or do you just lay in bed scared
Yeah, and wait for something to happen.
and wait, be passive,
yeah.
right? I don't know. Charles Simic, he blows my mind. It's like a Mobius strip, right? And you just like kind of keep looping around.
Well, he chooses to wait, like me, waiting for what comes next. So
Well, then
I guess
nothing's
that's-
ever going to happen.
Right. And he seems satisfied with that, I guess. Or
But
maybe
he
not.
wants, right? There is the want in the beginning
Yeah, I
to
wanted
want to do
go over
something,
and knock it. Yeah, that's,
but he doesn't. So is it ultimately just about being afraid? You know, like, and that's a weird thing that, like, this poem is about being afraid. You know, I don't think we think of poems like that, right?
yeah, and
I
there is
don't
no
know.
resolution to it. It just continues.
So anyway, thank you, Charles Simic. You blew my mind and made me think. So my question is, I don't know if you're like, what are you afraid of? That's kind of a weird question. You know, here's a good question. Do you have a poem you would like us to read for an episode in the future? So if you do, drop us an email or make a comment on the comments.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Oh
Send us
yeah.
a
Like
poem.
we're
See
turning
what-
on the lights.
You see what I did there?
Yeah. We're turning on the lights.
I'm
You
not going
can
to wait. I'm
open
gonna
the
knock
door.
on Yeah, knock on the door. Don't be afraid. All right. Thanks for watching. Please join the conversation in the comments on YouTube or on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN. Also, check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.